The railways have been an important part of our country's history, from the foundation of the Stockton and Darlington Railway to the Big Four and the golden days of steam, to the modernisation plan and high-speed rail. But with steam engines retired on the national network and preservation lines providing people with a look into the past and keeping the history of the railways alive, one part of the UK is a unique case when it comes to the railway motive power. Found just off the west coast near Barrow-in-Furness, the island of Sodor stands out in railway preservation as being the only railway still running revenue-earning steam services alongside diesels and electrics of older classes on a daily basis. In this series we look at the North Western Railway, its main line and its many branch lines, as well as the narrow gauge Scarlow Railway and the Arsdale 15-inch gauge line. This is the history of Sodor. In this episode we'll be looking at the world famous Brendam line, from Wellsworth station on the main line up to Brendam docks, as well as looking at the Suddery port and the China clay pits. Wellsworth station has already been covered in this series. Built in 1887 and rebuilt in 1899 to its current form, the yard has also changed over the years, from a 3-road yard for dropping off goods to a full rebuild in 1945 after the war. There is, however, some interesting movements to be noted at this station, specifically in regards to the Branchline trains. Edward is the main passenger train of the line, an old 440 from the Furness Railway. He's one of the oldest engines on the island and seen as a grandfather figure to most of the others. You see him here pulling in with a passenger train. With only 2 platforms, previous moves saw the passengers disembark from the train for it to be shunted over to the other platform. Now a new signal has been added facing the wrong way. This results in a passenger locomotive joining the coaches on the down platform facing up in the wrong direction. The signalman will then set the road for them over to the up line or the fast line, and the signal will be able to be released, meaning that there is no chance for the signal to be taken off if the points are not set correctly. Many a rail spotter enjoy watching the passenger trains move out across the point work to face the right way. After the junction onto the branch line, we come to a rather famous site, the Wellsworth scrapyard. With a weekly train to load up some scrap, this yard is famous simply for the fact that the traction engine Trevor was saved by Edward and the vicar from here. This yard is still used to this day and mainly breaks up old cars and building materials. And just around the corner is the vicar's orchard, where Trevor now resides. Used for the fairs in the orchard, helping with the harvest or going out to help other farmers, Trevor is a William Foster traction engine built in 1927, his shed being right next to the branch line so he can see his friends go past. The branch line is double tracked almost all the way, allowing the potential for a heavy timetable and boat trains to be slipped into the schedule, being able to send some of the larger trains up the line. However, there are several places with speed restrictions for these trains, such as a trestle bridge just outside Suddery. This wooden structure restricting the larger engines down to a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit instead of the line's 25 miles per hour. After passing through Suddery Tunnel, we get to our first passenger stop on the line, Lower Suddery, on the outskirts of a small coastal town. Built in the early 1900s when the Wellsworth and Suddery Railway Company, originally only a single platform station until the line was upgraded to double track by the NWR in the 1920s. While still classed as a branch line, it was for a short time classed as a secondary main line, but that classification was dropped a few years later and becoming more of a freight trunk route. Lower Suddery never gained a full yard, with just a single line siding for storing rolling stock and engines for a short time. This was the line that Percy ran backwards into when a signalling fault put him on the same road as Gordon. However, Suddery is not locked off from the railway without the yard at the station. Branching off is a small line that leads to a small dock. Once a busier little harbour, the Suddery docks is now primarily used by the Fell Goods Brewery, fishing loads and even some coal transfers, along with a small transfer shed for local goods to be loaded and unloaded. Stanley comes to the docks to shunt for a couple of hours midday and take the small goods train back to Wellsworth. Suddery does, however, have one major claim to fame, the island's boiler shop, servicing, making and renewing boilers for the NWR fleet, as well as taking contracts for other preservation groups and even the National Collection. The boilers are transported by road to the Suddery docks and loaded onto flatbeds to be set off across the country, and to the works at Crowley's Gate. Passing a small yard at Upper Suddery for a food manufacturing plant, the yard continues on a nice steady level before reaching Brendam, first passing the small engine facility and turntable. Trucks are left here for storage along with some coaches, while engines back down from the station further up the line to turn around. A small four-berth shed houses the steam engines, and the diesels sit under a metal shed during the night. This is also where the China clay pits branch off. Following the canal, the line has several loading platforms and plenty of point work for engines to move around any obstruction. Coming into Brendam Town Station. Construction started in 1914 but was halted during the war and quickly finished afterwards due to budgetary constraints, leaving it a one-platform station. However, the railway has made it work, crossing over to the wrong road just as trains arrive at the station, leaving the other line clear for freight traffic to pass unobstructed, with the track splitting off just outside the station canopy. Thankfully, this made shunting around passenger trains easier than if it was a two-platform station. The track is single line for the next small portion before becoming double-tracked again, yet standard practices aren't always followed, both lines being considered bi-directional, leaving room for trains to move around each other easier in the busy harbour area where our last station can be found. Boko now pulls in at Brendam Docks, the terminus of the line where passengers for ferries and international cruise ships now depart. With no runaround facilities, one of the dockside shunters need to come out and remove the coaches to release the arriving engine. Salty is one such shunter, a British Rail Class 07 built in 1962 and arriving on the island not long after. Having an odd fascination with storytelling and pirates, Salty talks in such a way, regaling engines, ships and trucks with fanciful stories that leave many speculating if they are made up or not. He works with Porter and Harvey. Porter being an American-built 060 from the HK Porter Company, shipped over towards the end of the war to help Sodor with shunting in the harbour, but did spend a bit of time over at Liverpool for a short period. Harvey, on the other hand, is unique amongst the island of Sodor, as he is a crane tank built by Dubs in 1901. With his crane arm, he has been used for a variety of uses across the island, from minor track maintenance to recovery and cleanup of derailments and storm damage. But the docks are his main home, using his crane to help load and unload goods and move them around Brendam docks, with the aid of many large dockside cranes such as Cranky and Big Mickey. Tons of supplies move through Brendam's docks daily, along with a ferry to the Isle of Man and Ireland. 3 other locos will often be seen coming into the docks on a regular basis. Bill and Ben are the most common of the 3. Built by Bagnall to the same design as the renowned Alfred and Judy, these two 040s were perfect for the tight turns of the China clay pits. They will either double head or top and tail trains of China clay up to the docks and bring back empty wagons. The two get bored in the quarry on their own and love to play tricks on the other engines, often being put in their place by Porter, Salty, Edward or Boko. For a short time, Clayton made Class 17 Derrick also work with them, but after some engine reworks, now runs along the branchline and main line when needed. To help with busier periods, another engine is brought in, Peckett-built Sunny. Even smaller than the twins, this little engine made a large impact on arrival after saving some men from a cave-in caused by an explosion. Able to go deep into the mines themselves, Sunny helps speed up the process by pulling out loaded trucks to take to the processing centre in the mines, and then pushing more empty trucks back into the mines. She now moves around the island to help where needed, including construction of the container yard and covering for Mavis when she's in the works for an oil change. Thank you for watching this episode on the Brendam Line. Next episode, we'll look at the Little Western and the Arsdale Railway.
Reach for the wind, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the song, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station where dreams can come true, waiting there for you. So much to see, so far to travel, so much to learn to know. Friends by your side, hopes to hold on to, who knows how far we'll go. To a shining time station where dreams can come true. Your own imagination's waiting there for you. To a shining time station where dreams can come true. Your own imagination's waiting there for you, waiting for you.